We're a group of Gen Xers learning about our ADHD and neurodiversity later in life. Join us as we discuss interesting clips we find online and how they relate to our own life experiences. Welcome to This Is How My Brain Works.
Welcome to the latest edition of This Is How My Brain Works. My name's Jason, along with my co-hosts Krista, Michael, Sarah. Welcome. Welcome everyone. How's everyone doing?
Fantastic.
Good. You ready for another episode of This Is How My Brain Works?
Cue us up.
Today, partners. We all have partners who are accepting some of our behaviors. And in this video, we'll see a young woman tell us how she dances around the ADHDer in the family and ways to prop that ADHDer up and to live with some of their tendencies.
Is this a full-on documentary you're about to play?
It's about 2.5 hours.
We need that. Okay.
Just a couple minutes. Now let me get this ready.
Hello, partner of the Neurospicy. That is your partner. Congratulations for choosing the most elite person you can. I'm here to help you understand your ADHD partner a little bit better. Here are 5 things that you should know that might be causing problems in your relationship right now that you can help with. Rejection sensitive dysphoria. What is that? Why is that? Who is that? Everybody gets a bit of rejection sensitive dysphoria. Everyone. Every human. It's like your ego gets bruised and then all of a sudden you're... For an ADHDer, boy oh boy. As you're probably aware, ADHD people struggle with emotional regulation, and that includes being rejected. Tiniest things, like you going out on a Friday night instead of staying in with your partner, can make your partner feel a bit crap. But there are ways to fix this. I like to call this the G&T tactic, and it does not include alcohol. It would be nice if it did, but it doesn't. Could do. Gratification and tactile. These are the 2 things that you should just start including in your relationship if it's not already present. If it is, just do more of. Even if your partner has a tiny achievement, make sure that you notice that and that you tell them how amazing it is that they've done that. And that makes them feel really wanted, needed and loved. Being tactile is more of the relationship-y kind of romance vibes. Any opportunity you have to touch your partner, do it. Making a cup of tea for you, go straight there back. All right, thank you for that. Yeah. When you come in from work, go give them a cuddle and a kiss. Say, hey, how was your day? Hold their hand in the least expected moments. Have your hand on their knee when you're sitting next to them watching a movie. By practicing these things within the relationship, it just makes them feel a little bit more loved, gratified, and you're able to do these things without as much rejection sensitivity. Number 2, you might find that on one of their off days, they're having a really bad time trying to even just do the normal shit. So every now and then, just offer a helping hand. Babe, you seem like you're having a bit of a shit day. Do you just want me to do that today? Yes, please. Easy shit. They'll really appreciate it. 3, routine. We need routine. If you're wondering why your partner can't make you that cup of coffee in the morning before they have a shower, get dressed and clean the house, then that's because in their head they have a full routine of what they need to do, and if they don't do that one thing to start it, the whole day's done. So be patient, let them do their routine, then you get your coffee, all right? 4, space. Everybody needs space. When you can see they're getting a bit overwhelmed and a bit stressed, just say, babe, you seem a bit stressed. You just want to go upstairs into the room and just chill out for a bit, and I've got this down here. They'll be like, they understand me. Trust me. And lastly, when you're trying to explain things to them, for them to understand, and they're not really seeming like they're giving much attention, use the tactile tactic. Hold their hand, look deep in their eye, they'll listen. Okay, you're welcome. Bye.
Right.
Welcome back. Initial thoughts.
Well, why don't you tell us why you picked that clip?
Well, to start with, the accent, as always. I always choose someone who's got an accent.
Right.
Because again, it's just listening to accents.
Easier to listen
really
to.
Good. Honestly, since we've been together and having these get-togethers, I become more aware and more accepting of who I am and how I am around the house. Consequently, my partner has done the same and has accepted, like, oh, I know, and that's fine, and accepts it. Because I've accepted some things, I'm able to make light of some of the things I do. And because I'm accepting and understand, now I try to put my keys away, but we all know, and it's comical now, we all know my keys are everywhere.
Anybody know where his keys are?
Right, exactly. and it's very important in a relationship for the one who doesn't have as much of a daily struggle with ADHD and some of the issues or roadblocks that it creates, that when they're really supportive and understand, and you together understand some of the things that you just do because that's how your brain works, they're able to work in that relationship a lot better. So I know since we've been together and had this get together, that relationship has become a lot. I don't know the right word. It's been a little more congruent, cohesive. Just knowing what some of my tendencies are, recognizing that, trying to change them desperately, but making provisions, knowing that, okay, so I don't put my keys on the hook. Well, maybe, and she'll help me with things like, well, maybe you could put them here or here, not just like every time saying, just put them back in the hook, put them back in the hook. Understanding that, guess what? My brain doesn't work like that. I'm not thinking about the hook. Then when I do put them back in the hook, I can't find them. Why? Because I put them on the hook. I never put them on the hook. So I don't, so basically it's coming to the understanding, I don't want the hook. I'm never going to put my keys on the hook. I'm never going to remember. They're going to be in a pants pocket in my room somewhere, or I'll look in my jacket. If they're not there, we know that sometimes they're on the table, or, that's how it is. Obviously, I'm trying to do a better job, and that's just one example. And not that I have a ton of things, but when your partner understands some of those tendencies and can provide support and help you figure out a better way, then that person starts to understand how it works. And to be honest, until you're comfortable with some of those things, you're masking in your relationship. You're trying not to let out you don't want to be seen as someone who can never find his keys. You don't want to, you're an adult, right? You should be someone who knows where everything is, and your schedule, and you never forget anything, and everything's da-da-da-da-da. But the truth is, it's not all the time. And when you have someone, who understands that and supports it, it's a lot easier to get around. You don't feel the shame, and you have to mask.
There is a period of time, and it could be between, the start of your relationship and
the end.
Somewhere
between the start and the end.
Somewhere between those two things, that usually is when it happens. But like this the acceptance thing is, it does not necessarily happen immediately. It does not. So they're because I think initially the non-ADHDer thinks that you're being lazy, making excuses, all these things. And until they get on board with the fact that this is an actual thing, you are neurodiverse, these are challenges for you. When that happens, then they're more likely to do these tools that our guest was talking about. Because like the affection, like just kind of like the patting of the back or whatever, like that stuff is huge for me. Like I respond immensely to getting like tactile, back rub, all of that stuff. I respond
two ladies I think that's careful. I think we have to be careful. It's like, you have to know your partner, right? Because I'll tell you what, if you touch me when I'm in that space, ooh, I really shut down. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's
and maybe I'm looking at this through the lens of now, so she's talking about her partner, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I guess you do have to kind of know who your partner is. Personally, I do respond to those things, and it makes me feel more accepted and just makes me feel better. And I'm less likely to have shame, feel insecure. I'm feeling like that to me kind of equals like acceptance and those types of things. And again, if your pissing off your partner because they think you're doing something on purpose, then you're less likely to get that. So those tools are all great. It really does. It is really helpful when your partner is not only like understands that you have a neurodiverse disposition, but is accepting of that. Like they're not waiting for you to become neurotypical.
And it's almost like a curiosity about your neurodiverse partner, so that when they do these really weird things that you think, I mean, to kind of pick up on Jason's example of as an adult misplacing your keys, you feel all this shame about how you should, as an adult, be able to have a place for your keys. And so what you're actually saying is that you think other adults think that too. So if I'm the neurotypical and I think, what the hell's wrong with you that you can't, why can't you just? And just is such a great clue that I'm being judgmental.
Sure. Good call.
Why can't you just do it right? Or what's wrong with you that? And if we come as a partner to someone who's neurodiverse with this curiosity of, wait, why is this so hard for you? Not why didn't you just do it, but really being curious. That's kind of all these tricks she's giving ultimately are starting from a place of curiosity and what works for the person. So like Krista and I both were reacting, please don't touch me when I'm overwhelmed.
That's
but
hilarious.
What you could do, what I really want is that space. When they said, "Ooh, I see that you're overwhelmed. You want to go take a bubble bath? You want to go, or I'll get this." That is my love language. And then I will come back and want to touch the hell out of you because I have just been, I have re-regulated. I am now back on task.
Yes.
But I have a partner.
I wasn't sure if she meant like if the ADHD is dysregulated, then touch is a good thing. Because if I feel rejection, if I'm in that RSD zone, I don't want touch. I don't want your pity. I want to be left alone because I'm pretty sad and I want to just be by myself for a second. So point taken on that. I think I'm also listening to Rudy. I think that it really is it's not just this one-way street of like, here are some things you can do. Rudy, I think, really hit it on the head, whereas like you have to have someone understanding of yourself and acceptance of yourself and ownership of it. I mean, if you're ADHD or neurodiverse, you have to, I think it's upon you to become as self-aware as you can be. And you do have a certain responsibility. I think I'm starting to get flooded now. What are my tools? I think that is kind of on the neurodiverse person. And if you don't know you have it and you don't know what those tools are, that's a really tough situation.
So listen to This Is How My Brain Works to help you.
So let me tell you, let me just say one thing about that really quickly. Sorry. I was so unable. I'm a chef. I'm a cook. I ran a business, for a long time. I was in the kitchen. Timing for me was everything. When I'm at home and I'm in the kitchen, it's not a very big kitchen. We have big kids. I would get so flustered. My voice I'd bang things. I'd get angry. Like I've got things going. People are trying to talk to me in and out, opening. But I didn't realize, and this is honest, I didn't realize that I could say, hey, guys, because I was too nervous that I'd be but I was like, even to my wife, like, hey, when I'm in the kitchen, I have a lot of things going on. I've got stuff on the grill. I've got things, I've got things going on and I need to focus on this. You can't ask me questions like that.
Right. I
was unable until last year at some point where finally one day I was just honest. I was like, you know what? I can't have it. I'm so sorry. It took that anger away. It took all those negative, everything away when I just said, look, I'm sorry, but I am unable. You've thrown a wrench in my situation here. Because I'm comfortable and understand myself now and why I get angry, like in traffic or things that for no reason other than, me, I realized just by saying something to my wife, and forever I had so much, I was too nervous to say anything. I would just react all the time, couldn't figure it out until I figured out that I'm being overloaded with stuff, right? All I have to do is say, look, I'll answer that after dinner, or let me just finish this. I can't answer that right now. And it helps so much. So many times I've done it in the past several months where it's just too much. And I just say it, like, I can't do that right now. And I've never, ever done that before. I've never done that before.
We're going from a place of this shame about how we show up and the overwhelm to a place of curiosity. Like, I'm oversimplifying, but honestly, when we can look at ourselves and our partner as curious instead of judgmental and shaming, it's like the way you just described that. I literally saw you going from feeling like all of this is happening. What's wrong with me? I just can't
handle it. It's too much.
I can barrel through, I promise. Instead, it's like, okay, let me see. Look at the parts of me.
Well,
wow.
Krista, what do you have there?
So the other morning, we had a sick kiddo this week, and then he sort of woke up one morning, and I thought he'd be homesick from one day. And he wasn't. He said, I want to go to school. And which meant I had to rush through. My morning routine was completely upended because I had, my rigidity lies in things like I know it's so stupid, when I refill the ice containers, when I put them in the freezer, I have a routine, and that routine was upended when he changed his mind and I needed to get him lunch out, before and I had like 3 minutes. And so I'm doing that. And as I'm refilling the ice containers, which I know a neurotypical would be like, you could do that later. And I'm like, nope, because it's in the morning routine. It has to be done now. I go to put them in, and one of them flips up and spills all over the floor. And I'm supposed to be in the car in 30 seconds. And I literally was like, I just lost it. I mean, I just lost it. And I heard, and my kiddo was like, you can just ask for help. And I looked up at him and went, not when I'm flooded.
Right.
I don't know how. And I think it's the first time that I was able to really express that with words, as opposed to just like, whatever. Like an animal noise.
Totally.
And so, but it is like, and this is what I would say though, we have the key dilemma, by the way, in my house too, Rudy, with my husband. And I've tried everything. Like, I've gotten him little things that look like amps that he can like stick them in because it feels good to stick the keys and the things. The other day,
and guess what? She got them for me 3 months ago. She's like, have you put those on your keys yet?
Yeah,
one for my key, one for my wallet, one for my phone.
We have about 6 sets of every key in this house, and we move them and hide them, and now I have them and whatever. And the other day he lost his studio key, and it was getting really dire. And then he realized that last time we went out of town, he took all the spare keys and put them in the safe. And so they were all there. But I mean, we have the key situation here too. But what I would say is that we've been married for many, many years before we realized we were neurodiverse.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so some of that stuff of like, he's like, he always loses his keys. Like, we didn't have words until the last
to blame very quickly in
couple of years to really manage that. So for anyone who may be listening, who doesn't know, or hasn't thought about it, or hasn't quite, reached that level where you're curious about how your brain is working. There's a lot of us out there who are engage in these behaviors and don't know that there's thoughts around it, relief around it, just putting words to it.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. When we get into relationships in the beginning, there's tons of masking on both sides. You don't want to take your mask off yet, but included is, all those things. For us as a generation, we didn't know some of the things, nor it was not talked about, not normal. So then even going into relationships, you're like, I don't even know I lose my keys, or I don't even know I do this. I don't even know that. But things you didn't know, you definitely didn't say anything because so shameful of it or embarrassed. And, over time when you become comfortable, and it happens a lot, and your partner's like, you can talk about it. At least you're comfortable with, that's something I do. I'm sorry. How do you help me? Like, what can we do to make it better? I mean, I feel so bad like getting so upset when I lose my keys. So I don't want anyone to know, right?
Well, so tip of the day, go make like 6 copies of them and make sure that at least one of them is always
which
in
we
the
have.
safe.
Go
Yeah.
put 'em
But
in
there's
safe.
situations, there's
Yeah.
definite situations. I mean, there's always a situation where it's like, but speaking of like putting something away, I always think to myself, you'll remember you put this here, right? Like,
we
you
clearly
remember
did.
you took the spare keys and put them in the safe. How could you forget that? And then like 2 hours of like, I have no idea. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't even believe it. I even
Half the
told
day.
myself.
Yeah, half
I
the
know.
day.
You
Yeah.
know, Rudy, I'm thinking like on your discovery of just saying, I can't answer your question right now while I'm cooking. To add on to that, we also, the ADHDers are very adept people pleasers because we don't want to feel blame. We don't want to feel inadequate. So we
don't want to ask for help.
We don't want to ask for help. But what you did right there is just like what's insane to me is that what you did right there is you set a boundary, which is so healthy and it's protecting you. And yet you feel bad, initially you feel bad about it. You feel bad about preserving
Not anymore. I feel so good about it right now.
So yeah,
good.
you're changing your relationship with setting boundaries, and it's not a bad thing. You're preserving, your sanity. You're preserving, you're staying regulated, and that just helps everybody else out.
Michael, boundaries for me were always a problem. I could never set boundaries, right? Because it's too direct, it's too honest.
Yeah, you feel
just like Krista was saying, you can't be too direct, you can't be too honest. You don't know how that wall's going to go up. What if they reject the wall? What if they climb over the wall? Like, what does that mean for our relationship? Like all those things. So I never set boundaries. In fact, only until a couple of years ago, I couldn't even define a boundary. Like, what do I say that makes a boundary? Like, isn't that a boundary? Don't they know they shouldn't do that? Like, everything to me was sort of an imaginary boundary. But when they stepped over that boundary, you had no defense, right? You're like, well, you didn't say anything. So like, what am I supposed to do? You didn't tell me that you had problems this way. You didn't say that, this is bad or this is bad. Finally, I was like, can you just make me a list? Lists are really helpful. Or she'll say to me, do you want me to make you a list? And I'd be like, she's like, you need to do this, this, this. I mean, I don't, that's kind of, but she's like, could you do this or this? And then see about that or that. And I'm like, oh, will you just write me a list? I need to see it. I need to. And she's like, yeah, you want me to just write it down for you?
Here's the challenge with lists though, is because I make every spring, we're about to hit it because it happens every year. My husband will say, can we make a list of the things that we want to do for the house, whatever, over the summer? So my things are like, clean the windows. His things are like, knock down a wall, redo the electrical, and redo the kitchen. And so I am literally like, I have heart palpitations over this fucking list that goes up on the dry erase board every year. And by the way, I will start it and I will add the honey-do list, the fix the shelf, and then I'll go back later and he'll have gotten the dry erase and it'll be like the big things, recarpet, change raise the roof and make the vaulted ceilings. And it just like it is so stressful to me.
How do you do a change, Krista?
How do you think, Jason?
Her favorite thing. Top of her list.
If you gamify it, if you say, if these things are met, then you can raise the roof.
I am not great with change. I'm not great with change. I'm fine with change, actually. I handle change well as long as I can micromanage the change and how it's going to happen.
For me, transitions. I struggle more with the temporary transitions.
Yeah, the transition's hard.
Change general, I can think about and plan, like I can get in.
It's all those things. It's fear. It's like, what's going to happen? Like, if we do this, will this happen? Or, if we take this wall out, like, we need to find this guy and this guy. Are you going to do it all? And how much is that going to cost? Don't we have to, what about permits? And like, for me, it's like, how do we really, that's so much. Yeah. That's too much. How about let's paint the bathroom door?
Yep. That's what I am.
Can we start, right? Like, what I'm saying is change. Some days I'll come home and she's like, okay, now this is the office.
We have a
And she
hole
will
in a
have taken
wall.
everything out, switched everything around, and I'm like, and
Rudy,
I'm just
we
like,
have
okay.
a hole in the wall in the kids' bathroom that has been there since we moved in like 16 years ago. What on earth makes someone think that we're going to finish a kitchen remodel? Like, no,
Right.
no.
Before we
Big
head out,
ideas.
I
We have ADHDers have big ideas.
I wanted to mention something that we didn't talk about from that list from the video, which is the touch when your partner is not paying attention. So one thing that I've really struck, my husband has ADHD as well, and I'll tell him something and he'll nod and like it seems like he's tracking, but then 5 days, you know, when push comes to shove, he has not been listening at all. And I think that touch, when you're saying something really important, when they're not flooded, when it's just normal, that touch of the hand, I realize I inadvertently done that a little bit, and it's always been effective. Having her put it as like, do that. I'm so grateful that you brought this video, because that for me is that's going to be a trick that
Well, even touching someone on the shoulder, a coworker, just like patting them on the shoulder, something like that, is so reassuring for a lot of different reasons.
Well, no, I don't mean the reassuring part. I mean when you're trying to give important.
Need you to
You know what that
focus.
does? It's an axle spinning. And they're like, stop for 1 second and listen.
And
You're not paying attention. That's what it says to me.
It's a grounding
and touch
thing
is
too.
sometimes hard for me. Like touch is hard for me. It's not my thing. I don't like it. I don't always love to be hugged. I will do it with people I adore. I'm okay with it, but I'm not that person. And so for me, that same thing has happened where I will look him in the eye and say, I need you to focus. Are we there? Are we together? And then sometimes, and I know people probably think it's like that, it feels like I'm talking down to him. I'll say, can you repeat what I just said? And I'm not. I know his brain. I can see it. When I'm talking to him, it's like, I love the alien eyes I'm just talking about on both of these episodes this week.
Wait, do you say, can you repeat what I said?
Yeah.
I will
see this. Yeah. I will see this film.
That scares me so much. Then I'm like,
I will see this film go over his eyes, and I will know he didn't hear me. And I will go, I was like, do you get it? Can you repeat what I said, or do I need to say it again? So it's not like I ask him like, repeat what I just said. It's more like I'm checking in with you because I see that you're thinking back here and you weren't up here. And so,
or his response is always like, well, there was something about a pharmacy, and then the car, you got to do that. And then
he'll just go, no, I wasn't. I mean, at this point, after 25 years, he'll go, oh, no, I wasn't listening. Say it again. I'll say, no.
But say it in a more interesting way.
Yes, say it in a better way.
Less boring, and turn off the Nuggets game. That would help.
That's right. That's right. But I think but I do think that there is something to be said. Like I watch him think about something else as opposed to listening to me. And I'm sure I do the same thing to him at times too. You know, it's not like it's one of us doing it and the other one's perfect. It's just, you know, and but yeah, so for someone like me who touch is not always the way, my oldest who's on spectrum, touch is not his thing. Like being able to find those ways to verbally do the same thing, I think is good too.
Another like ADHDers, like the direct eye contact is not always a thing. Like you're right, Krista, as far as like things working in the background. Absolutely. It's kind of hard to shut it all off, but like sometimes even if an ADHD is not looking at you, they're still listening. It's a tricky thing.
Greg and I've gotten Greg wants me to give him eye contact all the time. And really? He'll go and I'll go, I hear with these, not with these. And there are times that he'll be driving in the car and he'll look and try to make eye contact with me. And I'm like, look at the road.
Oh, that's interesting.
Stop it. And he wants eye contact, and it's fine. You know, we've worked that out, and I don't mind eye contact, but I don't I went through an interpreting program. That's one of my degrees. And so for me, auditory does not need to come through my eyeballs. It comes through my ears. And so, and there have been times in our relationship we'll go like, prove that you were listening to me. And he gets so mad when I can usually do it almost exactly.
Damn it.
I know. Anyway, but yes,
All right,
that's
Sarah,
it.
what were the, does she have 5 things? Or Jason,
Four.
there were 4 things?
Are we wrapping this up with the 5 things that are
I
delightful?
think so.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Are we about there?
Let's do it. Yeah, we are there.
Okay.
Well,
yeah,
just to be
right.
honest with you, I'm thinking about something completely different. I'm not
The
even thinking
timer
about
just went
5
off.
things.
I took
Okay.
notes on the 5 things if you want me to quickly.
Yes.
What were they? Yes,
Here.
please.
The first was to feel loved and gratified. So loved would be through tactile touch. The second would be to offer a helping hand when you see that they're flooded or overwhelmed. The third is to really respect their routine. Kristen needs to fill that ice, y'all. Needs to fill that ice.
Right.
Yes, she does.
And once she got overwhelmed, she needed space. She didn't want to be able to communicate. So the 4th thing would be give them some space, or give me some space when I feel stressed. And the last thing is when they're seeming to not pay attention, a gentle touch, or if it's Krista, hey, can we make some meaningful eye contact? So that
That's right.
I know that you're getting me.
A loud coach's whistle in the ear.
Yeah, so like when they're not paying attention, just a way to check in to kind of reconnect. And I liked that metaphor of a spinning top to stop it for a second, say, stop.
Yeah.
And see this.
That's good. Excellent.
All of those were amazing, and that's why I wrote them
And
down.
what was her name? We'll put it down in the notes, but do we remember her name? Did
Rudy,
you get that,
you got
Rudy?
it.
Do you have her name?
She has a great accent.
The girl.
She has a great
woman.
accent.
We will put it in the notes so
Okay.
everybody
We'll put
can
it in the
find her.
notes. Yes.
But that was awesome. Thank you for bringing that, Rudy.
Write it down.
Have a great week, y'all.
Make a list.
Check it twice.
Well, thanks again for joining us for This Is How Our Brain Works. Another wonderful episode. This one's about relationships. Thanks again for listening.
If you like this episode of This Is How My Brain Works, please like, subscribe, and share. For more info on today's clip, the hosts, and our podcast, check out the show notes. Thanks for listening.